you, right, are officially the coolest person on the internet, possibly ever. Obviously, many other people would say the exact opposite of that. But, in my opinion, let's play Kaplunk. Yeah, I don't think that Kaplunk is really going to work as an online experience. You've never played Kaplunk. Believe me, it's not one of those things. I think you're going to look back on your deathbed and really, really sort of like, it's not going to be forefront in your head. It might not even make the top 5,000 things in life you regret not doing. Yeah. It's definitely not, smoking crack or analingus. It's not. I don't play either. I mean, I don't play video games. The only video game I have played in the last few years is Minecraft, which and the only reason I enjoy that is it basically has no point. You can do, I just it's there's no, you can be crap and you can pretty much do whatever you want. As far as role playing games, never been into them. Just not my scene. Don't get me wrong. I like things that are, it's not that I don't like things that are competitive, but I sort of like, this is what, when politics has enough fucking sort of like battles and competitiveness to it, that you can. That you can take, that if you're involved in, if you are actively involved in it, you can sort of like feel some sort of personal achievement from. Okay, we'll have to get off in a second so you can ask your girlfriend to marry you. Right. I personally think you should stay online, because bear in mind she might say no, and then reveal to you that she's she's been literally every geezer you've ever known she's been right at it with. I'm saying that's very unlikely, but just be aware that if she might be about to crush and kill all of your hopes and dreams, and in that case you are going to need to come back in here, right? Because I'm the guy I'm the mayor of that fucking of that feeling, right? I've fucking set up camp in that fucking town, so you can come back here and I can tell you how, don't worry, you'll get over it, maybe, or you'll kill yourself, but either way it will end. Here goes nothing. Don't say nothing. Here goes everything. I mean literally everything. You're about to do the biggest thing ever. I wish you all the best, my friend, and I honestly, sincerely, if she says yes, let us know. Congratulations. If she says no, then bollocks to her. Say good. I was only joking. And if she says maybe, well then that's not really an answer, is it? You can't say, I'm sorry, has any woman ever said maybe to a proposal? Surely she just says no, but. You can't say, you can't give someone a non-answer to will you marry me. There has to be, even if you say yes or no with caveats and qualifiers, there you have to say, you can't say not say one or the other. I mean, I've been out with some people, I've had some indecisive girlfriends in my time, but even will you marry me tends to be the levity, Not right now is one, She could say, I don't know is also an answer, because, generally I don't know just means no, but it gives you enough time that you don't have to say that to his face and watch his fucking, and just watch as he just breaks down, and you see this man's life fall apart, and you have to accept that you've destroyed him, simply because you don't really like him that much, You figure it out. Right, well, if that was the case, then she's just going to get a yes, isn't she? Because the guy's going to go, okay, yes, is the answer. She's basically surrendering autonomy at that point. She is surrendering her right to, to fully. She's basically saying, you decide. Well, I mean, if a guy proposes, you're not going to say, oh, you decide for me, because he's not going to say, yeah, actually thinking about it. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I don't think, on the surface it sounded great, but now I've said it out loud, I just realised I haven't fucked enough women yet, No, she doesn't. Although, to be honest, if she's not planning on saying, if she allows it to get to the point where, yes, where it's at the altar, then, I mean, she has to be one spectacularly evil bitch to have allowed this guy to, to have led him on. I mean, there's leading men on, and then there's that, right? That's not even like leading men on or lying to them or manipulating because they've got money or you get something out. That's just sadism. That's just fucking torture, And I'm not saying there aren't women who might have done that. To me, it's a lot of effort, right? It's probably, you'd have to be pretty motivated. That would have to be a very specific kink that you're into. I just love having relationships with men long enough to the point where they ask me to marry them, and then we go through all of that, and then I just go, no! Does anyone object? Yes, I do! And then, or you hire some gigolo to object, and then you just, and run off with it, and that's it, Some women don't get much choice in the lead up, and oh God, here we go. Every conversation has to be turned into how men are bastards and women have it fucking up. Yeah, I get it. Look, I've been engaged more times than most human beings, but if they weren't situations where I felt it was necessary, I would, getting married ain't shit, bring it. No, I won't bring it, because if I just bring it, you'll fucking claim I'm oppressing you. You're like one of these trolls on the internet who talk shit about you, and when you reply to them, because you've got an audience that is 13,000% bigger than theirs, right, they then play the victim. I'm like, motherfucker, stop being like every girl I try and fuck, and don't fucking give me shit after you've fucking been spouting off. Right? You're fair game. I don't, that's one area of disagreement that pisses me off in modern YouTube, is people think if someone's got a lot of subscribers, they shouldn't reply to, people who have a very small audience. I'm like, no, fuck them, right? I fucking had to do it. I responded to Pat Condell and Thunderfoot and the Amazing Atheist, whose audiences are thousands of times bigger than mine, and I fucking took shit, and I took it on the chin, because you know what? I fucking said it. I spoke shit first, right? That's the fucking. But I felt that what I was saying mattered more than me getting trolled or abused by people in the comment section, right? If you don't want, and the thing is if you don't want, what you're basically saying is that people do not have a right to respond to people who have a smaller audience just on the basis that people happen to, watch me. More people happen to enjoy my content than theirs, right? Well, I'm sorry, bollocks to you. Right? If what that person's saying has got any value, and if their content is worth anything, then quite frankly, they would want me to respond. Because you know what? For every 1,000 people who posted a comment calling me a fucking, a sort of, a secret Muslim terrorist sympathising Holocaust denier, do you know what? Every now and again, I'd get a message from one of them who was saying, do you know what? I was a Thunderfoot fan. I watched your videos and I thought you were right. Or I used to be a Pat Condell fan, and then I saw your stuff, and you know what? I agree with you. You know, and that's worth more to me. That is worth, to me, changing that one cunt's mind because they were willing to listen is more important, is worth more to me than 10,000 people dropping my docs and threatening to kill my mother and rape her on live on Twitch. And yes, that has happened. People say me versus Vaush, but I mean, don't I have to disagree? Listen, mate. Vaush Vaush, I think, is great, right? And I especially love the fact that he just seems to annoy. He just seems to get under people's skin just by mentioning his name. People will fucking lose their shit. But also, as someone who's been around for a while, all of the complaints about him, I look at and go, do you know what? You could say that. You could say the same thing about me, and this is it. It's always, whenever someone's got a complaint about another YouTuber, and every one of them is bringing up the same 3 incidents that happened 8 years ago, or that there's only one example of, and there's no context, or it's a 5-second clip of them with absolutely no context to it. I know that. I've been through it. I know that game, right? And let he who is without sin cast the first stone. But morally, Vaush, is I planted the seeds to him, and it's great to see. I like to see how my work is now is pollinated other people. But morally, I own him. Just so. But I don't disagree with him enough. To I can't think of. I'm sure there's probably lots of things we disagree on. But whether or not I don't want to have an argument with a guy. Just. He's always wearing glasses. Right, well, that doesn't really bother me, unless, of course, he actually can see perfectly. And he's just wearing glasses to make himself look more intelligent or geeky or maybe possibly vulnerable in some way. Then that's just, then that's basically, that's ableism. That's blackface ableism, That's him pretending to be, that's what, if you can see perfectly and you wear glasses, that is basically the ableist version of blackface, Yes. Wait, what do I do with the ring box now? She's wearing the ring. What you do is you keep it, mate, along with the receipt, just in case, because there is, for some reason, I don't know why, engagement rings are considered to be, it's like women think they're allowed to keep them. And I think that's, if I've got to delete all your nudes off my phone, bitch, you're giving me back that fucking ring, because I will never, even if if I was earning enough money, if I could earn enough money back from your nudes to fucking make that ring back, then fair enough. But give it back to me, or I will chop your finger off when you're sleeping and fucking get it myself. Oh yeah, can you imagine the engagement ring bought with Bitcoin? That'll turn your skin green. It's a cubic zirconia on a piece of gold tinfoil wrapped around a shower curtain ring. I'm sure they do. And Argos special. Not even Argos. Remember Woolworths? You know, this stuff that would basically, you know, it would basically dissolve. You know, a stiff breeze would fucking bend it. If you took it out, you know, if it was even remotely like warm, like it would warp this shit. You know. Yeah, they sell diamond rings, but they're not exactly. They're not the kind of, you know. No one's ever, you know, there is not. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. It doesn't matter what it's actually cost. No one has ever said, "I got this from Argos," and, you know, impressed anyone. Right? You know, you might as well say, "I got this out of a Kinder Egg." You know, you miss Woolworths. I don't miss Woolworths. You know, because I mean, you've got shops like the Works, which are basically the same as Woolworths in that you're not exactly sure what the fuck they are. Like, what do you describe? How do you describe Woolworths? You know, it's like the Works. How do you describe the Works? It's like 17 different shops all in one. You know, it might have it might call itself something. It might have a nominal label. You know, but you know, 95% of the fucking shit they sell has got nothing to do with that. You can call yourself a bookshop all you want. You know. No, it's not a Swiss Army store. Right? A Swiss Army knife has use. There is nothing I would take on into a survival situation that I could, you know, that I wouldn't go into Woolworths, go, right, here's £50 and you're going to live rough for a month. I'll take a Swiss Army knife over 50 quid's worth of fucking shit from Woolworths. I'm not living on pick and mix, right? And fucking, calendars, out of date calendars, and fucking DVDs of films, you know, of Belgian horror films, or Woolworths exists in Australia. Well, that doesn't surprise me. You probably just, in Woolworths, you just like the name because it's got two O's and an L, like most fucking words in Australia. It was good for nicking pick and mix. Well, my friend, if you enjoy stealing sweets, then I suggest you just, you try again. Just stop living on the nostalgia of how shit Woolworths started. And the only reason, it was easy? Because Woolworths did not pay people enough for them to fucking care. Right? You could literally walk into to Woolworths, piss in the pick and mix, and then steal it in front of someone, and they would not fucking bat an eyelid. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't. That it pays to bake someone else's bread. That's literally what bakers do. Yeah, you want Rob Thornton's. Now that is fucking right. That's a challenge, my friend, because they're fucking chocolatey. Right? It's like one little bit, one chocolate from a Thornton's box is about 25 quid. Yeah. To wish me a happy new year. Well, thank you very much. If I don't have a happy new year, I'm holding you personally responsible. Yeah. Takes you 1.5 hours to make bread. Well, good for you. I'm sure that piece of information. See, now I know that you've pushed something useful out of my head, and it's been replaced with that. You're cool with that? Good. I will take you to court. I'm gonna fucking screenshot all this chat legally. I've got you nailed here, mate. I will be keeping a daily fucking record of my happiness levels. I will say this for you, Spiker Hound. You every single thing you've ever posted in my chat is is a level of inane, meaningless, just utterly nonsensical drivel. A level, and with a level of consistency that I wish I could replicate, but I couldn't. Right? Right. You're like You're like the most abstract Turing test ever. I know you're real because no machine could fucking talk as much bollocks as you. Right? But at the same time, your first wank of 2021 will be. I think you should start in 2020 and end. I think you should have a wank that crosses over. Right. Now, obviously, this means you're going to have to be able to be good. I mean, you don't want to start too early because then you've got to edge yourself off. You don't want to start 10 minutes before midnight and then realise after 45 seconds, oh, I'm nearly... Then you've got to fucking... and I think if you lose your erection, then that fucking doesn't count. You have to start again, right? And it's not my... These aren't my rules, The Big Ben gong. Yeah, when Big Ben's dong... When you hear the 10th dong from Big Ben... I could have sworn that I remember hearing or reading somewhere that most of the bongs that you hear are actually just like it's a pre-recording of it. Yeah. What will Farage be doing tonight? He'll be probably masturbating over Schindler's List, or or the first half of 12 Years a Slave, or fucking his inflatable Dollywog doll, or Did Boris get his deal? No. Do you know what Boris got? He got the only deal he fucking could. The fact that he at least, realised he had to take it is the only good thing you can say, but having strung everyone along, without wanting to again be too much of a smug Ramona, told you so. No, he wasn't bribed by a corrupted deal. He literally did not do anything. He didn't do fuck all. Jesus Christ, my trousers could have done a better job. You could have put one of my rats... Right? You could have put Miley in charge, and she's been dead for 3 months. You could have literally just had a fucking, a conceptual entity. Think of any object that is non-human, inanimate. Right? A discount My Pet Rock. Tommy Robinson, exactly. I mean, at least he's short enough that you can fucking laugh at him, Who misses Margaret Thatcher? I don't miss Margaret Thatcher. Let's face it, she, but, I'm ambivalent to it, But, Margaret Thatcher was, at least with Thatcher, she did not fucking lead you on. She left you, you had no fucking, you were under no illusions as to, as to the aspect of Thatcher's leadership. She was like, you voted for me, I'm in charge, what I say goes, if you don't like it, tough fucking titty. Right? Now, at least you know where you stand there. And I kind of wish that was a mentality that more left-wing, liberal political parties had, rather than this, because left-wingers seem to have this obsession with trying to appease these fucking arseholes. Why can't one of them just say, do you know what, you voted for me, and there's another election in 5 years, right? So, but until then, I'm fucking, what I say goes, And you, if you don't like it, you can swivel on that, pal. Right? Every nightmare fucking scenario that you have fictionalized in your head about my fucking, about me being in charge is gonna come true and worse. Right? That's, you know, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna make you wish that that was the fucking, you know. Well, yes, I mean, you know, this is all people want. They want to know where they stand. You know, it's, you know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in favour of totalitarian dictatorships, but at least when you're living in one, you have a, you know where you stand. Right? Wherever the fuck you're told, what's your opinion? Doesn't matter. Don't have one, because it wouldn't matter if I did. Even even if it was one that was popular and they agreed with, that would just be a coincidence. Yeah. And hey, she won 3 elections in a row, which for a politician who people were literally dancing in the street when she fucking died, you know, people literally were fucking ecstatic when she fucking died. That's quite impressive, you know. Tony Blair. No, he wasn't. Shut up, Spiker Hound. Don't make me defend Tony Blair. You know? Nobody. I mean, that's one of the few things that unites left and right these days, is every time Tony Blair's fucking... he comes up with that fucking snarly grin slapped all over his Chevy Chase, and everyone, doesn't matter where you stand politically, you're just like, would you fuck off, mate? I don't care that I agree with what you're saying 100%. You are damaging my fucking cause simply by stating it. Yeah. But here's the thing. Tony Blair did one thing that that every single other Labour Party leader has failed to do. And that is make the Labour Party electable. Even Kinnock had, when Neil Kinnock was running against, you know, the Tories in 92, I can't remember if it was 92, yeah, I think it was 1992. I mean, literally, it was almost impossible for, you know, people were like, you know, it was impossible to fucking lose. And, you know, the Tories had fucking destroyed everything. And somehow that ginger Welsh windbag fucked it up. You know? Hey, Izzy. You know? Listen, listen, I hate to defend the idea of people trying to appease, or, you know, or trying to get on Murdoch's good side. But if you're a politician and there's one guy who owns 80% of the English-speaking media, do you know what? I'd fucking sit there and patronise him, and, you know, and play with his and jerk him off fucking in whatever way in whatever, you know, non-physical way I could, just to fucking, you know, because do you know what? That's what the fucking right wing do. They lie through their teeth, get elected, and then fuck over the people they've lied, and then to the point where people will eventually bring in, you know, will actually elect a Labour Party, who have then got to spend 10 years cleaning up the fucking mess the Tories have done, and at which point people have forgotten, you know, that the Tories have no interest in their fucking in their fucking in benefiting them whatsoever, and we do for the same cycle again and again and again. Yeah. You know, but why not? Wouldn't that be great to see a left wing politician, you know, a political party leader, actually lie through his teeth to get the right wing media and the left and the 1% and the big business to support him, and then when he gets in, he turns around and says, "Sorry, lads, I had my fingers crossed behind my back the whole time." Now, right, nationalise this, ban that, stop this, right, get rid of that, tax this, tax that, tax that, tax that. Right? Intersectionalise that, feminise that, emasculate this. And I want it done today. And then tomorrow, again, to the power of 10. You know, even if it's just to fucking annoy him, because I've got to that point. I've got to that point. You know, when you realise that all right wingers really care about is upsetting left wingers, then do you know what? I'm in favour of anything that pisses you off, even if I don't give a shit, or in some way I actually don't agree with it. If it annoys you, that makes up. That's all I'm gonna need. You know. I hope they do a transgender version of Ghostbusters. I hope they do a black version of Ghostbusters, then a black transgender version of Ghostbusters, then a black transgender, then a black gender fluid disabled version of Ghostbusters. I hope they make every fucking version of Ghostbusters that you could possibly make. I want every video game, movie, comic book, TV show that you've ever loved and cared about to be social justice warriored the fuck up. Yes, but the thing about Greta Thunberg that's great is she doesn't. This is what I say to people whenever people try and sort of get protective over her, because people are, do you know what I say to them? Look, do you see her moaning? No. Do you know why? Because she doesn't give a fuck. She's got shit to do. She's got a fucking. Right, she knows what she wants to do. She's got an agenda. She's got a fucking objective, and that's all she cares about. She doesn't give a fuck what you say about her. She doesn't give a. This is one of the benefits of her being on the autistic spectrum, is she doesn't actually recognize a lot of the jokes that people make about her. She doesn't give a shit. Do you think she's watching Spitting Image? No. Why would she? She's talking to people in the UN. She would have been ignored if she was a guy. Good. Do you know why? There's no 16-year-old boy on this planet who has got it in him to be. They're too busy violently masturbating like safari park chimps. Right? I don't care whether they're a guy, I don't give a fuck what they are. If they're fucking, I personally, I like, I think it's a good thing. I think it's nice to see that young people doing stuff that impresses me, that I think I'm not one of these people. But the problem with a lot of people is that older people is they're insecure about their age. That's where a lot of their fucking fears come from, that they're part of a generation that doesn't matter. Your time has passed and times are changing and there's new shit going on and you don't like it, because it reminds you that you're gonna be dead soon. Well, now the best Greta Thunberg thing was the death metal, the black metal remix of her UN speech. You're worried about Thunberg. You feel like, well, that's not my well, I can't do anything about that, mate. What are you going to do about that? Right? What have you done? Do you know what else might be true? It might be the case that she wants to do this, she likes doing this, and actually everything she's done is something, she's not been manipulated, she's in fact been, the catalyst for, That might also be true. And you can speculate all you want, but you don't know, I don't know. And to be honest with you, I can't, I care more about climate change than I do about Greta Thunberg as an individual, right? And if you're worried about child exploitation, I could give you 20 things off the top of my head that should cause you more concern than just Greta Thunberg, I know you never said I knew, but your vibe, yeah, but you understand how in the facts versus feelings argument, in the realm of, actual useful debate, how someone's saying, this is my feeling, this is the vibe I get, you know, you're not R. Kelly, and that is a good thing. Unless you are, in which case, hello, Robert. Not sure what you get out of my content, but, and especially as earlier on I was making the argument that I would support the KKK if they randomly turned up at your house. But, all that aside, my Patreon is below. It's like earlier on this year when there was that whole thing about that film Cuties on Netflix, and I'm like, I don't see you people who are moaning about this film claiming that this is some sort of, some sort of like pandering to paedophiles. I don't see you fucking complaining about Instagram, which is a website where you could, with very little effort and within 10 seconds, find literal accounts that are nothing more than basically softcore child pornography. Where you've got young girls who are some as young as 9 years old, whose account is them modelling bikinis, and they've got 500,000 followers, and I guarantee you the majority of them are not other 9-year-old girls who are interested in swimwear. I don't see you complaining about TikTok, which is basically a website whose two main demographics are 45-plus-year-old men and 14-year-old girls. Why aren't you complaining about that? Why does this one film on Netflix bother you more than that? Because that is what the actual film is about. It's about this sort of, accepting, how we are so accepting and just complicit in what is right in front of us. But that's the way it always goes. Whenever artists create something that points something uncomfortable and and unpleasant, that's right in front of your face, they will get more fucking shit than the actual thing they're pointing out. Like the comedian doing the joke about the paedophile priest gets more shit than the actual Catholic Church gets for being complicit in facilitating the the hiding and the the relocating of paedophile priests. That is you can't make an artist can't create something out of something horrific unless that thing exists. If you don't want artists to create stuff about these horrible issues that make you feel uncomfortable, do you know what? Fucking get rid of those problems. In an ideal world, comedians like me, if you've seen my stand-up, right? In an ideal world, I couldn't make the jokes that I make because none of the stuff I talk about would happen. But it's because people seem to focus on the target that is easier, or that's or that is the smaller. It's easier to get offended by one person and sort of create an outrage about what they've done than it is to take on the mainstream media, or to take on a political a political administration, or the government, or or a corporation. That's really difficult. Whereas being outraged by one woman who made one film, or one comedian who made one joke, or or one musician who wrote one song, that's easy, But yeah, but I mean, and what was everyone doing following that? It was like, cancel Netflix. Right? As anything, and do you know what pissed me off? This is the same year that Netflix, added that film 365 days to its, and I haven't seen Cuties. I'm not going to. I have no interest or desire to watch it. But if it is even, I would be amazed if it's even half as fucking horrific and vile and repugnant and objectionable as 365 days, which is on every, which, you know, compared to 365 days, fucking, you know, 50 Shades of Grey was like a Disney princess love story. It was the most fucking vanilla what's his name? You know, Christian Grey. Christian Grey he's a borderline monk compared to the geezer in 365 days. I don't care whether women you know have liked that. Fuck those women and fuck him all. I don't give a toss who likes it. I watched it as a geezer who just thought, what the fucking hell is this shit, right? And it's not because of just the material. I think it's perfectly fine for people to create, you know, challenging, you know, things that challenge, you know, what we consider to be acceptable, and to do a film where the very nature of the storyline and the characters is unacceptable. But if you're going to do that, it needs to be good, and this is just not. The acting is shit. The story is shit. The characters are shit. You watch it and you realise that there's no actual fucking point to this. What am I supposed to take from this? It's like this is an incels fucking version of what what alpha males should be, and it's just that. It's like sort of incel pornography, right? This is like, if that's the market you're going for, then fair play, you know. You know, but I don't give a toss, you know, who likes it. It was written by a woman, and do you know what? There were two more parts to it after this, and you know they're gonna get fucking made. And I've already looked up what happens on them, and it's even more fucking ridiculous, and it gets even shitter. Yeah. Do you know how that film should have ended? The woman gets impregnated by that geezer. They have a baby, and then at the end of the film, they're standing over there. They've even got married, and then she pulls out a gun, shoots the baby, shoots him, and then fucking walks out, because the whole time that was her plan. She decided, I'm gonna lead this geezer on as far as I can, then shoot our baby in front of him, and then shoot him in the face and walk away. That's how that film should have ended. And then I would have gone, you know what, nailed it. Right? That is a good film. Because I had to go right to the end, and then it completely and utterly changes. You know, that's what I would want. Yeah, memes don't mean anything. Just because there are memes about something doesn't mean it's good. Do you hear that? Those are the people who live in the same building as me. That is them on an average day. Right? The other day they were up till 4 a.m, being that loud. Right? And not only can you hear it, there are people in fucking Coventry who can hear it. There are people in the past that can hear that. Right? And and one of them had a go at me for shutting the bathroom door too loudly at 10 o'clock at night a couple of weeks ago, and I nearly fucking laughed in his face. Right? And then I go into the kitchen the next day, and what do I see by the kettle? A line of cocaine. Now, I don't know about you, I did a lot of cocaine when I was younger, and I never left any lying around. Listen, the remake of Wicker Man is an internet meme. And do you know why? Because Nick Cage is that fucking awesome. That's it. It's funny. It's not because it's good. The Room became an internet sensation. Not because it's good, because of the exact opposite. You know, Troll became an internet meme. Not because it was good, because it was fucking shocking. You know. You know what? There's part of me, you know, because living with them is going to drive me into going, you know what? Brexit was worth it. You know. Which one is worse? I would say 365 Days is worse, because Serbian film does not have any moral. There's no moral sort of. There's no sort of moral or ethical or philosophical issues with. You know. I mean, Serbian film as a movie is much more disturbing and much more horrific and and offensive. But as a story, you know, but all of the characters in Serbian film that you're supposed to hate, you hate. All of the people in Serbian film you're supposed to sympathise and, you know, and feel empathy with. You feel that, you know, with 365 days. It's asking me to, you know, feel to feel some kind of connection, or to look at this guy who's effectively this charmless fucking sex criminal. This guy who's basically a, you know, this kidnapper, you know, rapist, just and who has all the charisma and charm of a fucking Russian traffic jam, and I'm supposed to fucking think, oh, this is the leading man, you know. I mean, even fucking James Bond, who isn't the most, shall we say, romantic, you know, he's a character he's got issues, but at least James Bond, you think, yeah, but James Bond is cool, you know. There's some, you know, I don't think James Bond is inherently bad. It's not his fault every woman he fucks gets killed 3 scenes later. That's, you know, he is what he is, you know. You know, but I mean, even characters like Christian Grey. I mean, personally, whatever you think of 50 Shades of Grey, of course it's shit. But even people who like it admit that it's shit. You know, that's the thing about it. It's so stupid and badly written, and it's such a ridiculous. You know, it reads like fucking. You know, the dialogue is so fucking, you know, strange and, you know, and weird, that it's difficult to get too offended by it. But even Christian Grey, you know, he is what he is. You know, he's not a good guy or a bad guy. He just is what he is, and, you know. He doesn't, you know, I don't get, you know, this guy is a man. Christian Grey didn't kidnap the woman in 50 Shades of Grey and kind of force her to develop Stockholm syndrome to the point where she would actually end up, you know, becoming dependent on him, which is actually nothing more than just psychological conditioning. Christian Grey would not have fucking, you know, he said, you can do it if you want, but this is how I do it. If you don't like that, that's it, you know. Exactly, he lasted 12, exactly. But you know what? That's not his problem. She signed a contract. These are things that should be argued out and negotiated. You know, but I'm just sat there. You know, if the main guy in 365 days had, you know, went through some kind of, you know, character change that resulted in him actually, you know, realizing what a fucking, you know, how just awful what he's done is, and the story developed from there, that would be something, right? But he's the same. I'm supposed to fucking be rooting for this geezer. He's the romantic lead. I'm supposed to be going, go on, son, get in there. Yes, holding women hostage against their will for an entire year, purely because you saw them on the beach before you got shot 5 years ago. You know, get in there, you know, and forcing these women to, tying them to a bed and forcing them to watch you get blown by other women, you know, in sex scenes that literally are so fucking uncomfortable that people, you know, there's actually, you know, it's actually, you know, there's actually was legitimate discussion as to how it's basically, it's not even softcore pornography. It's like, it's a porn film with all the good bits cut out, with a vague storyline. It's like a sort of, that's what it is. It's like a softcore, you know, porn film about basically a geezer who has very little understanding of boundaries, you know, and, you know, but with a much bigger budget, you know. I'll watch any porno with a fucking stupid storyline over that, because at least that's going to be amusing. I mean, that's what the Room is, basically an asexual porn film. The Room is nothing more than all the scenes from a porno that happen in between the sex joined together. You know, I'm pretty sure one day they'll find all of the missing hardcore sex scenes that happened in between all that, and it will tie it up and it will finally make sense. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the difference between Serbian film and a film like 365 Days is Serbian film didn't. No one came out of. Everyone I know who came out of Serbian film had the same feeling, which is like, that was fucking horrific. I wish I had never watched that. I'm now going to go and cry in a dark room for an hour, and probably never not get an erection for at least a couple of months. You know, although I will do, but I won't enjoy it as much. Lisa refused to do sex scenes after the first one. You blame her. A, it took about a fortnight. Secondly, I mean, God, there are blind eunuchs with who have fucking who suffer from a blind eunuch having an epileptic fit had more had a more impressive sexual fucking performance than Tommy Wiseau. It's like, it's not difficult to make to make it look like you're having sex. You don't need your but this is a guy who just likes being and I can sympathise with this. This is a guy who likes getting his arse out. This is a guy who is waiting for that point in the evening when everyone's drunk enough at the party and he can go, right, naked, I'm getting naked now. I can appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with him forcing. If you're going to watch that film, he's saying, right, you can watch this, but I'm going to put my arse in every scene I possibly can. If I was in charge of editing, this whole film would just be my arse. I wanted to film it from the waist down with a GoPro connected to the small of my back, filming nothing but my arse, right? And that's fine, Especially when you realise that Tommy Wiseau is just not in any way attractive enough to get away with that, and I love that confidence. That's one of the appeals of Tommy Wiseau, is he kind of really, he doesn't really care. Like, there's 1,000,001 questions about him, who he is, his life, where he comes from, why he's got all this money, why he made this film, and no one knows the answers. And he's not going to give you them. And it's a brilliant, it is a brilliant marketing strategy, Because if they told you tomorrow, yes or no, does the Loch Ness Monster exist, then it's over. Even if it's a yes, you're like, oh, there's no, the disaster artist. The film was good as well. I thought the film was one of the best films I saw that year. To be honest, I don't think I saw many films that year, but of the few that I saw, that was. I remember telling this to Jordan Owen. After him and I spoke to him on Skype. This was after Sarkeesian Effects had been released. This was like 6 months after all of the films had been released and that. And I had a conversation, and I remember him sitting there for on this Skype call for 3 to 4 hours. We were chatting, and he was telling me all of the stories about him and Davis, about And I just remember I've never laughed so much over the course of a 3-hour Skype call. And I said to him at the end, this is your disaster artist. If you want to get something out of this, if you want to spare anything, write this down. Write this story and release it on a fucking release it as a fucking as an ebook. Charge $1. I'll even write the fucking foreword. I will even write an introduction, and you can put it in there. And you'll make more money from downloads of this than fucking than you did. You'll probably make your money back because this is the film and then one day you can make the fucking one day someone can make the fucking fictional sort of like the Hollywood movie version of this, because anything that makes me laugh this hard, there's got to be in it, Oh yeah. In the book they say, but it's successful businessman wants to be actor, but I mean, I want to know how he spent that much money on that film. and made it look that terrible. You know, I mean, I could have made. I made better looking fucking home movies in the 90s. You know, in the 90s, when with those fucking huge bastard things that were like a Land Rover with a lens. You know, there are films written. There are films made on wax. You could have used a box brownie camera and made a fucking better looking film than that. You know. Which again is something the Sarkeesian effect shares. I'm like, how did this film cost this many tens of thousands of dollars? You know? No, it doesn't look like softcore porn. It looks like asexual porn that has had all the sex scenes cut out. Right? It's that kind of, there's nothing sexy about. I mean, the least. I mean, the sex scenes aren't even the. If you had to tell me you've got to jerk off to something from The Room, probably wouldn't put the sex scenes in there. Probably put anything, the fucking I don't know the grandmother telling Lisa she's got cancer. I'll fucking bash one out of that. Whatever, but. The point is, that's the bit. I mean, if you wanted to describe the Room to someone who's never seen it or has no idea what it is, just say, like, imagine like a porno movie but with just the talking bits, right? No, it's not hi doggy. It's hello doggy. Hello doggy. Bye. Oh hi Mark is the. Yeah, well, it's probably one. I mean, this is the thing I like about the internet. The internet has done one thing. It's added, it's given human beings a new sort of avenue to become famous. Because it's like, right, if you want to be famous in 20 years, be shit now. Find something you have no skill or aptitude to, right? Put all your effort into creating something in that sort of medium, and then release it. And in 20 years' time, some fucking YouTube channel will review it, and you'll become a legend. It's 20. Well, it's not here, and that this is UK time, and as we invented time, as we, the naught line of longitude goes directly through the centre of England. Okay, mainly because we put it there, but it still counts. Yeah, well, I mean, tap dancing wouldn't have. But I mean, painting is like. I mean, paintings. The world of art is so subjective. I mean, some of the things that. The things that people moan about. You look at some of the things. I mean, there are moments when you have to go. How did this win? Why is this good? This is. I mean, but a lot. But sometimes art is not about what it is. It's about the justification or the meaning behind it. And you could literally take like 10 random things, put them together in some form. If you can find a great meaning and story as to what this is, that kind of makes sense, then that makes it more interesting. But oh, I've seen no, I've never even watched The Room. I've seen so many fucking videos that review it, or videos mocking it, or I've seen fucking. I remember that one video. It was a guy who he took lines. He was the guy who did the Alex Jones folk song thing. He did it. He took like lines from The Room and made it into like a sort of into this funny love song. The chorus was like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa, and I am a fool." It was an amazing video. No, I've often thought this is one of the things I love about the Edinburgh Festival is occasionally you'll see something at the Edinburgh Festival and you think, I remember watching this waitress drop all these plates in the middle, in outside. She was taking food out to a table and she tripped over. And I'm like, and there's a moment where you go, is this a street theatre or is that just an accident? But either way, brilliant. You know, this is well done. 4 stars, says the Scotsman. You know. But then there's some art where the impressive thing is not what it looks like, but just the amount of. I remember there was one guy. He used to his thing was he would basically he got a load of like old toys together in like a shed, and then he blew up the shed, and then he went round and he left. You know, there were bits. There's shit everywhere. There's like everything's obliterated, and he suspended every single piece of these exploded toys 2 inches off the ground with a piece of wire. And you just think he had to think of that and then take all the effort to do it and then painstakingly fucking and you just think that is just I don't know what it's for, but I just love that exists. I love that someone did that, there is stuff that I will go occasionally. Okay, that's just shit. There was one guy. He was like, it was a Turner prize, and he won an award for. He wanted to bring focus to, it was about how human beings are very wasteful with water. And do you know what his installation was? It was a sink with a tap that was always running. That's it. And I'm like, that's like, okay, that's what I would expect like a child to think of, like after 2 minutes and then make, right? That is not that. This is doing nothing. This is not bringing. This is just like, it's like anyone could have fucking thought of this shit, I remember me and my mates used to play this game when we were sitting up getting stoned and drunk, and it would be like each one of us names a random object, and then the other one has to put them together and as an art piece, and then somehow give it some justification or meaning that makes it art. It was a lot of fun. So it'd be like, right, a fish tank, 15 litres of camel's blood and a polystyrene swastika, go. And okay, an ashtray full of used condoms, a fucking a lock of caveman's pubic hair, and a can filled with one of Harry Styles' farts in it. Go, Derek Jarman's Blue, right? Is that in any way connected to the boy band Blue, or the Blues Brothers, or Betty Blue, or Blue Dubba Dee Dubba Doo, or Little Boy Blue? He needed the money. Oh. A blue screen and a guy. Well, you can't. Oh, well, to be fair, if you go see a movie called Blue and it's just a blue screen and the guy talking about the colour blue, you can't say that he hasn't. That is a Ron Seal quick drying wood stain fucking movie. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. If I was to say, what the fuck were you expecting? What else would you call a film that's a blue screen and a geezer talking about blue? I'd be like, if he called it Yellow, or Debbie Does Dallas 3, or Die Hard 6, then yeah, I could go with that, A film made by a filmmaker who had also gone blind. Well, about talking about, well, maybe he went blind because he watched too many blue movies. No, it's not. Crap art is insufficient. You know, I don't know. What do you mean art? What? That's absolute nonsense. Virtually every form of communication that humans, it's one of think of how many forms of communication take place through a creative, artistic medium. Whether it's a comedy show or or a movie or a song, or a painting, you know, or a book. I mean, Christ Almighty! Without art, it's a fucking you've just got people talking, and that's fucking you know. You've just got people talking to each other about stuff, and that's fucking boring as hell. You know, it's the people who make it creative that went blind from complications. Yes, from AIDS. Yes, because that's how much he masturbated. He masturbated so much that he gave himself AIDS. Yeah. Yeah, but it's in a form of expression which you then show to people in the public because you want to express this to them, and people who understand or feel what you're expressing will feel that connection. That's a communication. Or people who don't get it might end up learning something or understanding it. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of times I've watched, particularly growing up watching comedy. When I was a kid, that I didn't, as I got older, I was watching stand-up from the age of 9 or 10. A lot of the jokes that comedians I watched told, I didn't get until I was 17, 18 years old. Okay, we done. Okay, I will say. Okay, what about satirical comedy news shows? What about the Daily Show? That is art, and that is communication. There's a reason Jon Stewart, was in polls and in general sort of opinion. There's a general sort of respect and and admiration for what Jon Stewart did on the Daily Show. That is art. It's a comedy show, but it's a comedy show that's communicating something, and he actually did a better job than most people who were just doing journalism and news. No, farts are objectively funny. I mean, they are the. There's nothing funnier than a fart. I mean, the fart is the. Yeah, but its purpose is irrelevant. But the fact is, communication through it happens. We know that, and that's how. And sometimes you want to communicate something, but you don't know how to say it. But you can make a song about it. You can paint a picture about it. You can. You can write a story about it, or you can maybe even tell a joke about it. Because because you find that a much you're more comfortable with doing it in that way. It makes it I mean, a YouTube channel that no one watches is just some cunt expressing themselves. If that guy gets 3 million subscribers, he's still just expressing himself. A lot of YouTube channel exists purely for people who love hearing the sound of their own voice. The fact they've got millions of people who listen to them is just a coincidence. Yeah, I wasn't going to watch your video, Dan. Don't worry. You don't have to tell me not to watch your content. I had no intention of it. Right? So you're okay. You're safe. In fact, I promise you, I guarantee. I'm going to give you a cast iron guarantee. I will never ever watch anything you ever make or produce ever on purpose. Right? I will watch Charlie Kirk fucking that drag queen, whatever video that is, for at least 30 seconds before I watch anything you've made. Even if it's good, even if billions of people would like it, and it's considered the greatest YouTube video of all time, I still won't watch it. Wankers without, I think you mean Nazis without aptitude and it's not underappreciated at all. It's just not, it's just not as widely known. But but out of the people who watched it, it was the vast majority of people who watched Nazis Without Aptitude thought it was brilliant, and they're right. Even if I feel that they're still underselling it, it was actually way ahead of its time. Because it wouldn't, if I'd made that today, wouldn't be funny. Do you know why? Because the fucking alt-right would appropriate it and act like, and then that would then make left-wingers think that I was trying to appeal to, or I was laughing at, but I didn't. I did it at a time when that was not a problem. Right? So next time someone complains that you couldn't make blazing saddles these days, I'll be like, you know what else you couldn't make? Most of my fucking YouTube videos from 10 years ago. Yeah, you sing along with it. Yeah. You've got to be careful where you do that. What do you mean I'd get cancelled now? I have been Dude, I've been cancelled about half a dozen times. I'm the best. I'm a walking example of the absolute futility and myth of cancel culture. Right? I had someone. I remember like about 7 or 8 months ago. I was in this Facebook group, and I posted a comment on this on something someone had said on someone's post, and this person who I didn't know, this woman I didn't know, replied saying, "Weren't you cancelled about a year ago?" I'm like, the fact that you're asking that should tell you everything you know about cancelling people, right? Do you know who wasn't cancelled ever? You. Do you know why? Because no one ever gave a fuck about you enough to fucking ask. It would be like fucking cancelling a TV show that no one ever watched, Or Anne Widdecombe taking up celibacy. Yeah, it's fucking, you. If you've got Netflix, I highly recommend the Charlie Brooker special they've got uploaded called Death to 2020. It's like a 70-minute one-off. It's basically the people who did Black Mirror, but it's very, very funny. Oh, will do. Good. That's what I like about you, Dan. Nothing phases you. I sat here and went on for about a 5-minute unnecessary diatribe about how I would never watch one of your YouTube videos, but the second I recommend one thing on Netflix, you're right there going, okay. Yeah. In many ways, I wish everyone, I wish all subscribers were like you. Life would be so much easier, Okay, we will be entering 2021 in T-minus 43 minutes. Yeah, you say that artists make art that's never meant to be shared, but if it's never shared, how do you know they made it? And there is a debate. There is a debate, and I think there are valid arguments either way here. Like, if you create a piece of art, but you never ever, no one else ever sees it, is it still art? You know. I mean, the definition. I mean, in general terms, the definition of art is something that is when you create something, is something that you have created that has outside of itself, cannot be used for anything more than what it was intended, you know. So like, even if you're doing a comedy show that is written, even if it's about serious subject, but it's a comedy show first, if it's if it's there for that purpose of using humor to talk about issues and get a certain message across, if it doesn't do anything else beyond that, then that's art. If you're someone who is just being a racist, homophobic, sexist bigot and then claiming that it's fucking jokes, when clearly that's not, the people watching it are clearly not getting that. Right? That's not art. That's propaganda. Yeah. And I know sometimes the line between art and propaganda can be difficult to can be blurry. But, thanks, Troy. I mean, yes, obviously everyone should go and pledge money to that, and yeah, but how do you know no one cares? You don't show it to anyone, If Kurt Cobain had never fucking shown anyone his songs, then we never would have had Nirvana. If Picasso had thought, had drawn his paintings but never showed them to anyone, then we wouldn't have, we wouldn't be talking about what he did, And generally, it's art. It's when you create something that's very different and goes against the grain that when people get insecure and don't want to show it. But actually, that's generally the art people, people in the industry are looking for, because if like, for example, if grunge music, when when it became popular, that's the time you don't want to be a grunge band, because no one needs grunge. There's too many grunge bands around. Whenever the point came where hip hop was very mainstream and incredibly common and was and popular, that's the time you want to be looking for something else other than hip hop, or a hip hop artist who's doing something different. Comedy, interestingly, doesn't doesn't work like that. In comedy, you just have to be funny, and you have to and fortunate, and you have a bit of luck, But it doesn't matter what sort of funny you are, There are certain types of comedy that will, that only in terms of comedians being popular who do that style is very limited. Like the people who do stuff that is very sort of, can be very offensive or controversial. There's only you can't have too many comedians doing that, otherwise it loses its value. It loses the whole sort of controversy element is watered down. I wouldn't call singing art. Singing is a skill. I don't consider I can sing. I sing songs. I've actually got 2 gigs in January across the road, where I've been booked for an hour to play, to do songs and play my guitar and my ukulele. Never done that before. No. I've played my guitar before. I've bussed and I've occasionally played my guitar on stage. Never done an hour gig. And but I wouldn't consider it art, because I didn't write any of the songs, and I didn't write any of the music, and the only thing that's different is the way in which I'm performing, and maybe just the general kind of fact that when you consider the type of songs I'm singing and the fact that I'm a 41-year-old white British guy with a ukulele singing them. you know, and the songs are things like ludicrous, what's your fantasy, genuine pony, you know, or or you know, wrong ninja to fuck with by Ice Cube, or you know, or my mashup of you know, Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, you know, Scrubs by TLC, Phil Collins and Justin Bieber. Mm. You have to check me out in person. You know, do you have to? You know, it's. Can you send an escort girl? You know, 22-year-old Eastern European. You know, hot. You know, just in your place to represent you. Yeah. You know, Hurt by Johnny Cash is white a middle-aged white guy playing Johnny Cash. That is a. You know, thing is, I want to do a whole. I want to actually do a whole sort of like cover version out, and I've already got mainly because I came up with a title. I was going to call it multiculturally inappropriate. Um, Straight white man bastardizes the great music of oppressed minorities with no shame or regret whatsoever. Have you ever wanted to listen to some of the all-time classic gangster rap tunes of the 80s and 90s, but performed by a pasty white staccato voiced English git on a ukulele? Then this is the album for you. Yeah. That's one thing I've got to fucking get my get a set. There's a couple of songs that are actually that I'm going to do. My Drugs Don't Work, because that is the only song I can do any justice with in terms of actually my vocal performance of it. It's the it's the only sort of like it's the only song I can listen to and where you don't come away thinking, well, he didn't completely fuck that one. This is quite tolerable as a cover version. Also, John Denver, Country Roads, has to be done. Except my version's called Kettering Road, and instead of West Virginia, I go Market Harborough. And this is going to be in a vain attempt to try and get the audience to join in. I actually worked out a couple of weeks ago. I'd have to. I didn't really try and perfect it, but I worked out how to play the bass line tune from Wet Ass Pussy on on my acoustic guitar. And I think, is that appropriate for a 6 p.m. gig in a cafe? And I think, well, there's only one way to find out. And is AI generated art still art? I don't know. I think art has to, well, I mean, someone created the AI that did it, and for them to create the AI, you'd think they would have to have an understanding or knowledge, of art in order to create that AI. You can't be, because if you don't have any clue what certain styles of art look like, how the fuck can you create, an artificial intelligence that's capable of taking a picture and turning it into? I'll tell you what you do. You hire me, because apparently, according to certain people on the internet, my entire sort of like, my last few years of me sharing pieces of artwork has just been me scamming people. It's been a massive hoax. all I do is get, use an art app, AI art app, and actually then just photocopy it. You know, one guy, funnily enough, my favourite fucking, I had a guy on Reddit who who his criticism was, he first of all said that the style you have of drawing is very similar to that of an app or an AI, in that, and this was his criticism, in that you've put too much detail where there doesn't need to be any, and less detail where there should be. And I'm like, so your criticism is that this is too shit for it to have been done by a human being. Is that what you're saying? Because you're saying this is too incompetent and arse backwards for it to have been done by a person. Because apparently there's a way you should draw, according to this geezer. Apparently you should do certain things one way and another, and that's it. And if you deviate from that, and I was like, I quite like that, It used to piss me off, but what I've realised now, the actual response I should have is that it's actually a compliment. When people say, "Oh, you just this looks like some sort of like filter," I'm like, "Oh, thanks," because what you're saying is that this looks too good for a human being to have done. So I'll take your compliment. Yeah, you can have a broad. I mean, everyone can have definitions of everything. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, and until you've got one, there's no real point discussing. The way I mean, I think the best thing to do is to talk about art on an individual, specific basis, and determine that even if it's shit. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, the problem I have is that a lot of people will say this isn't art because it's shit. I'm like, well, no, that's your opinion. It's shit art. It doesn't mean it's not art. I've made it very clear that I think Salvador Dali is absolute bobbins. Like it's just overhyped, overrated, fucking bullshit. I think he's crap. And Salvador Dali is the geezer who said everything is art. I'm like, well, of course you would say that if most of what you've done is crap. Right? But you get this with everything. Yeah, but I mean, definitions are, I mean, arguing over definitions, I find, tedious and futile. I mean, like if you can't agree before a discussion on definitions, then you're not going to end up talking about the actual thing you want to talk about. You're going to end up talking about the definitions of things. And if you're anyone who's followed the debate, the atheism versus religion debate, knows everything about the fucking. You would have experienced more than one fucking just mind-numbing, back and forth about definitions of atheist or agnostic or theist or religion, and I just sort of like go, even there's even I mean there's debates about it's like there's always this debate about the word racism. And my response is like, I accept both responses. I accept, I agree with, because words can have multiple definitions. I don't think there's no wrong definition. I just think that if there is multiple definitions, then you should make it clear before you talk about an issue, the definition you're using. I happen to use, the definition I use or work from in my videos is the one that includes the idea that that hating anyone because of the colour of their skin or what they look like is racism, even if they are white. And the reason I do that is because that's the definition the majority of people who I'm trying to talk to use as well. And I'm trying to reach them. So I'm not going to reach them unless I talk to them using the language in the way that they understand it, or that they define it. But I've got no problem with people who who have a definition that includes power dynamics and makes it about an institutional or a structural or that I've got no problem with that. As long as before But it kind of annoys me when people just don't want to. Well, they want to have that debate. I'm like, listen, I don't. I'm not using the definition I use because I think yours is wrong. I'm using it because these videos are trying to reach people who have this definition. That's it. And it's more. I'm going to be more successful talking to them using that definition than I am trying to convince them that this other definition is what the one they should use, and then talking about it. The best. In fact, the best thing to do is for me to use their definition, make my arguments, and if they're effective, those people will see why that second definition is actually, actually exists and is, perfectly legitimate and appropriate. We're all We're all completely unconscious of everything that happens, so we make. Okay, Dan, what you've just said there is the most meaningless, fucking bargain basement, fucking 15-year-old emo, emo philosophy. Almost cliche. That's. What you've done there is try to reduce everything down to just like, oh, it's all bollocks and we just make shit up and none of us know anything really. Well, that's useful. I'm not gonna, you're gonna struggle to fucking win anyone round to that because you and your bloody usefulness. I don't need you to be useful. I just need you, but if you say, it's when people say, that argument, religious people would make, saying, that God, you're an atheist, but you know deep in your heart that God exists. I'm like, well then why are we having this conversation? If I know that God exists in your eye, if you believe that I know God exists, then why are we arguing about whether or not he does? Because logically, if I in my heart believe God exists, then it doesn't matter what I say outside. That's, why are we having this conversation? Well, they say you're just an atheist because you want to sin. I'm like, yeah. And, what do you want me to do with that? All those stupid arguments that everybody knows, that they know you can't, how do you know the Big Bang happened? Were you there? To which my response, famously, was, yeah. That's how you should respond to that. When a theist says, how do you know the Big Bang happened? Were you there? You go, yes. And if they challenge you on that, you say, well, can you prove that I wasn't there? And then theend.com. Right? You're right, I can't prove that God doesn't exist. You can't prove that I haven't existed since the very beginning, or since before time began, technically speaking. You're pretty nihilistic. Okay, dude, you can't be pretty nihilistic. That's like saying you're kind of extremist. Right. Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, you can't get something from nothing, can you? Everything, even though I disagree with that, because when you think about it, 7 billion people exist, and there was a point when no people exist. That's a lot of, and 100 billion people have existed throughout the course of, throughout the history of the world. That's a lot of something to come from nothing, isn't it? Even if it came from a tiny something, you can't really sit there and say that, even if it's like, a seed. You can take a seed that big and grow a fucking flower that big. That's still a lot of something that's come from virtually nothing. And that's almost the same as something from nothing. If you end up with 300,000% more in terms of like biomass from from something, then can't you argue that that's enough of something from almost nothing for it to be, legit, You were given a dementia vaccination. That's impressive considering that doesn't exist. Although, the fact that you think that you lived in a previous world suggests that dementia vaccine didn't work. The only dementia vaccine is to have a lobotomy, I think. You don't remember Jack? Well, who's Jack? Jack who? What was his last name? Um, Something horrific happened in World War Two or World War One. I think it's fair to say that something horrific happened in World War Two and World War One, and that it was the fact there was a world war. I mean, the war. I mean, any war, you don't need to sort of qualify or, grade a war on the extra things that happened. World War Two would have been horrific even without the Holocaust. You know, it did well. It didn't really. I mean, what do you mean? Oh God, look, we've got a wacky character here who's. Here we go. I shouldn't complain. I mean, at least you're trying to troll, and you're at least trying to be original. But when someone's just, it's like you're trying too hard. So, you're trying too hard to be wacky. And Anne Boleyn times. Though that's a very well-known historical period, the Anne Boleyn times. I'm not a physicist. Neither am I. I'm not a physicist or a biologist or a chemist or a historian or a neurologist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a zoologist. I'm not a cryptozoologist. I'm not an astronomer, astrologer. I'm not a cosmologist. I don't know anything about, marine biology, human biology, evolutionary biology, molecular biology. I don't know, I don't know anything about, anything really. But I reckon yeah, but they say it doesn't make any attempt. But, that's because it's not trying hard enough. I do kind of agree with the idea that I think it's totally reasonable. Like when you see those little fuckers that live in like ponds, those tiny little fucking pricks who are they're literally a row of teeth and an asshole, and a fin maybe, and that's it. These tight and you've got to think those fuckers have no idea, dude. Could you literally just fucking piss off? Sorry, not that one. Not you, Necropolis. This fucker. That's it. There you go. There you go. Sorry, Necropolis. I didn't mean to ban you there. You've been unbanned. That was an accident. That was collateral. That was friendly fire. Right. That was collateral damage. Right. That was It's one of the fucking. It's one of the unfortunate realities of war, my friend. Okay, 19 minutes until the new year kicks in. And we can, I will accept 2021 just being slightly less shit than 2020 just as a starting basis, Yeah, well, you don't have to know. This is one of the things human beings have to accept is that life's too short to, life's short. Life's, not, there's barely enough time in the average human existence to get really good at one thing. So just pick what you want to be good at carefully. I don't know what 100 gex is, but you're not bothering you. I mean, no offense. I'm just. What do you mean it's bothering me? Well, I'm doing a live. You don't think I'm doing a live stream against my will, do you? Can I just say that is the single most overly polite comment I have ever received from someone on the internet. You've come into a live stream and in the chat room and typed, "I hope I'm not bothering you," right? As if I could sit here, and object to you having just the raw nerve to fucking to type something into the chat room. Do you see the crap that people fucking that I have to read whenever that's what I'm talking about. But you know what? I think what you've got is the next extreme that we need. I think you could be a pioneer here, J-Dog. I think you could be the start of something that takes trolling to the opposite end of what it once was. Whereas trolling used to be, saying the worst things. We should take trolling where it now becomes being polite and civil and overly nice. And I will try to stop being so annoying now. I don't think that's possible. Firemoth, I mean, I'm happy to be proved. I would love to be proved wrong on that specifically, but okay. There's no point posting links, mate, because I cannot click on them. And unless it's a video of Stephen Crowder shooting himself, how's New Year's Eve going? I don't know. Well, it's not it's heading towards midnight at a very, very steady pace of 60 minutes an hour. I mean, it's the evening before the New Year. I don't think it could go any better. If we suddenly realised, fuck me, it's like the 12th of December, then this would be a terrible. A New Year's Eve, I don't think it's unusual to find people being polite on it depends on the channel and certain communities. There are certain places where it's there are loads of comment sections under certain videos on certain channels where they and to be fair, those are usually channels that make a point of sort of saying to people, we're not going to tolerate anyone being a cunt on here. If you want to watch, be part of the community, or the people that watch our, if you want to be part of this, then you're going to have to, behave in a reasonably civilized manner. Not relative to every noise, every time I hear them screaming, I think, yes, Nigel Farage had a point. Okay. Speaking of civilized, why is Rydan censoring all of his swearing? I don't know. Dude, I love the fact that you can read Rydan's comments, which is not easy to do. There are certain fucking, there are people who are, whose job it is to, decode fucking, to break down, secret languages and old forms of communication, who couldn't master his fucking comments, The people who fucking cracked the Enigma machine would be struggling with Rydan's comments. But the thing that you find interesting is the fact he censors the swearing. At least when he censors the words, I can't accuse him of spelling them incorrectly. Alan Turing. No. Alan Turing would have killed himself. If you put Rydan up against the Turing, a Turing machine, it would fucking explode. It would say, "Fuck this! I don't even know I don't know who's fucking real anymore." You know. Yeah. Oh, I never killed myself to save my soul. I was blind, but how was I to know? I didn't come this far to sing so low. I'm finally holding on to letting go. Your friends are boring. Yep. I just had some pizza. This is fascinating stuff, guys. I'm not cheap. I'm just poor. Hey, I wouldn't. Hey, $9.99, my dear. That is, that's a month of Pornhub Premium. Which I'm not saying that's what I'm definitely going to spend it on. I'm just saying, you've now opened up that option. If I felt so inclined. We can be your friend. No, Lewis is not new. Lewis has been around as long as I have. If he wanted to be anyone's friend in this room, he definitely would have made that clear by now. But he hasn't. You're an ex-hamster man. That's just porn that's just hipster porn. Get new friends. I love the fact that you're giving advice on, on how to improve your social life, No, I mean, it's a hipster porn site. It's like people saying, people who like, it's like someone saying, it's like some cunt using MySpace still. I'm not going to use Facebook until literally, it's completely and utterly obsolete and no one else is on it anymore. Which is, when I used to use it. Yes. See, no offense, but you are all beneath me in every way. I am not here because I enjoy the company of you people. Trust me. This is like, it's like someone said, what part of your body do you want to get a violent and aggressive tumour on? And I just picked the least, the one that would, cause me the least discomfort over the longest possible period of time. Or the one that would kill me off the quickest, possibly. I don't know. Depends what mood he's in. You're loyal. I never said you weren't loyal. Doesn't mean you're not a twat, And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just saying that, you are the people who choose to come, who look at me and think, yeah, he's got the answers. This guy, I need to listen to what this guy has to say. And I look at myself and think, what the fuck is wrong with you people? either that or that is just the biggest damning indictment on the world and humanity in general. The fact that, the fact that any amount of people would look at me and go, yeah, this guy's got it figured out. As I've always said, if you think I've got the answers, then you're asking the wrong questions. See, again, Diet Dan, what the fuck does that mean? It is what it is. Yeah, of course it is. If it wasn't what it is, then it wouldn't be it. You thought he was a closeted IRA member. Okay, first of all, why would you be a closet IRA member? Secondly, are you implying that because he's borderline, his comments suggest he's borderline illiterate, that he must be Irish? Right? Because that sounds discriminatory. Secondly, if Rydan was an example of was an example of what the IRA had going for them, there's no way they would have been as fucking as good at, and clinical at terrorism as they were, If Rydan was interviewed on News at 10, you wouldn't need to sort of keep his face concealed and then change his voice using a modulator. You just go, listen to this fucker. Yeah. But I mean, isn't this a bit like, at this stage, isn't supporting the IRA a bit like supporting the Cornish Independence Party? Or saying, or saying that you support the suffragettes. It's kind of like, it's like, okay, but, I do as well, just because it's funny. I just find it, I don't care what their policies or, principles or beliefs are. I just find the idea that they, to any degree, still exist, even if it's just one geezer. I find that hilarious. And I wouldn't vote for them, but I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say I, would never vote for them. I forgot about Google's cut. Ah, right, $4.99. Right, it's definitely not that large, but again, thank you. $4.99. Christ Almighty. That's a Pornhub Premium, and there's got to be something I can get on the internet for $4.99. I think that's a month of Netflix. I think on the it's the bottom tier Netflix thing. But let's face it, it's it's perfectly the same. Yeah. You'll predict next year a massive Bitcoin heist. Can you make that prediction? Isn't that a bit like saying next year some stuff will happen? I mean, Bitcoin, for all, one thing I do know about Bitcoin, and whilst it's not as it's not as bad as it's not as bad as it used to be. I mean, it's not exactly the most stable currency in terms of, there was literally a point where, I mean, it could have 17 different values within the course. You've been stuck with me stalking you for 11 years. Yeah, but the thing about that is that, I don't mind that, because I have no idea that you're stalking me, because you're probably not very, not very good at it, or at least, your definition of stalking is a lot broader than what more serious interpretations of it, You say that's the last thing a stalker would ever say, but I don't. But that used to be. That's if you're stalking them in person. If you're stalking someone on the internet, it's not stalking from a distance. It's stalking on the internet. If someone stalks you on the internet, it doesn't matter whether they live like literally next door or on Jupiter. Text you the best way to send it. Okay, Lewis, you need to send it. First of all, you need to transfer it into a currency that is no longer in circulation, preferably drachma. You then must send it to an address that I will give you at a later date, in a bright purple envelope. And wrapped up in an extra large, but washed and dry rubber Johnny. Send it. Yeah, I want it in Oxon. 2 minutes to go. I know, Yvette. I know what the fucking time is. After working in professional kitchens, is there anything you are a food snob about? No, actually. In fact, I tend to be the opposite. I think I find any snobbery about. But I have strong opinions on the actual sort of, on how the perception of certain cuisines. I worked in an Italian restaurant, and for me there is no greater con. And as far as money made, in terms of like what you get charged for what you get, Italian cuisine is borderline marketing genius, because it's fucking different tasteless shapes of boiled shit. It's just different versions of bread, cheese, and tomato folded differently, or it's basically just different types of flavorless matter in a different shape with a different fancy name, served in a different sauce that gives it all the flavour. Whether it's spaghetti, linguine, they're celebrating, and it's now midnight. It's 2021. Do you know what? There could be a terrorist attack happening out there, but why don't terrorists bomb stuff at midnight on New Year's Eve? It's the perfect time. No one would know until literally it would take at least 12 hours before anyone fucking knew. See, that could be Al Qaeda out there. For all I know, ISIS has just fucking blown up the fucking, the hairdressers across the road. Or Quick Fit. Would you please shut up? Shut up, you bastards! This is where I need Vivian from The Young Ones. Shut up, you bastards! Beirut, yes. No, I mean, can I just say, of all the things that happened this year, I think, the one thing that I feel is, because so much shit happened, that explosion in Beirut, that happened in Beirut, I have never, that affected me on a level that I couldn't fucking deal with. Honestly, it's like the first time I saw it, I didn't pay any attention to it, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s when the words Beirut and explosion were never more than 2 or 3 words apart. And usually, fireworks in the window. No, the fireworks outside the window. And, and what happened, what was the thing that happened prior to the fucking, that Beirut explosion? Fireworks going off, right? No respect, right? This is just racism, right? But honestly, it took me about 10 days before I actually saw the video of that explosion, and I was sat outside having a cigarette, and I didn't know what was. I was just watching this video because it said this was and I thought, I'll just watch it now. And when it happened, I'm in the street. There's people walking past, and I went, oh! And like, people must have thought I'd just been told my mum's died. or like here's pictures of your family, you know, tied up, and here's what you have to do or we'll kill them. I was literally, and people were stopping and asking me if I could, and for like nearly a week I couldn't do any. All I did was watch video of every video I could find of that explosion, because I just could not deal with how fucking insane and just huge that was. And the one that no one ever fucking, the one video that nobody fucking, that barely anyone has seen is that one of the fucking geezer who was on the roof of the building next door. He was literally 50 feet away, and he was filming it. He was live streaming it. Right? This is the book. This is the Beirut equivalent of Keemstar there with his selfie stick, filming it on his own, and then the explosion happens, and the camera still films, and I'm like, first of all, I want whatever camera he's got. That phone is fucking, but that, Joe, there are comments, people going, do you think he's still alive? I'm like, do you think he's still alive? I will give you 50 quid here and now if you can find 2 molecules of that geezer's body that are still attached to each other. Is he still alive? He's not even got matter left in it. He's been vaporized, motherfucker. He's a fucking conceptual entity at best, you know? And then I made the mistake of watching all these videos. Then I started reading the comments, and I'm like, right, how many comments is it going to take before I come across some conspiracy about Jews? And it was literally 4. You know, like, here we go. Of course, the fucking Jews did it. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, that is the biggest explosion that Beirut has ever suffered, and they did it to themselves. That is a really big flex. You know, to live in Beirut and say the biggest explosion ever was one that we did, that happened through sheer incompetence, is kind of a bit of a, like, you know. I love you, and you've made 2020 slightly more bearable. Lewis, right, if you're not drunk, stop. Right? Don't. I'm not shagging you. Right? I don't care what you know. You can't be that nice to me. You know. Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate it. Yeah. You are drunk. Good. In that case, I will screen cap those comments and make sure that that you get reminded of them. That will be your legacy. I will put that on your fucking grave. Yeah. I will post that as a full-page article to you in every newspaper I can. You love me twice as much. No, you can't even spell twice as much. You think twice starts with an L. I don't need your fucking affection. Very droll. It's not droll, right? If it is, it's purely by accident. That is a stopped clock. Fucking, that is stopped clock syndrome right there. When you hear before. I couldn't look you in the eye. Oh, you're just like an angel. Oh, your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. Oh, I wish I was special. Oh, you're so very special. But I'm a creep. Oh, I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. No, I don't care if it hurts. Oh, I wanna have control. Oh, I want a perfect body. Oh, and I want a perfect soul. Oh, I want you to notice when I'm not around. You're so very special. Sing along now. I wish I was special. Mistake. But I'm a sometimes. All I need is the air that I breathe. And sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. Oh, she's running out the door. She run, 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 run. Whatever makes you happy. Whatever you want. You're so very special. I wish I was special. But I'm a creep. The tune for this song was basically the same as Sometimes All I Need Is the Air That I Breathe. Yeah. I don't belong here. So if you start again. If I could make a wish, I think I'd pass. Can't think of anything I need. No cigarettes, no sleep, no light, no doubt. Nothing to eat, no books to read. Sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. Sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. There you go, see? Exactly the same, yeah. It's sort of like, if you look at any list of like songs that are considered like rip-off, like tunes that are, people don't realise it, then that is one of the ones that's always cited. Then you got things like, was it Blurred Lines and no, Ed Sheeran takes up several places. He has a habit of nicking, of copying many people. That was not a good one. Well, like I said, I'll say what I said at the start of the stream. There was I remember when everyone thought 2016 was the shittest year ever. But let's be fair. That year ended with Trump winning the election. This year ended with him losing. So, I suppose if there was, I think, if this was a year that happened, if this year was a shit year on an individual level, like if one individual had a year as shit as this year collectively, then they might kill themselves. But the fact that it was shit for everyone, like everyone is fucked, I think is what made this year. If a year has to be this shit, then the only way you're going to get through it is if everyone else is fucking having the exact same shit time you're having, Maybe I don't really want to know how your garden grows, 'cause I just want to fly lately. Have you ever been in the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone? Maybe I just want to fly, man, to live, I don't want to. Listen, if you took all of the stuff that was universally of shit that affected everyone, even on a personal level, I have had a fucking dreadful year, right? 4 people, 3 friends, 1 family member have died. I've had 4 people, who, who I, that is a fucking 1 every 3 months, right? Fucking characters in Games of Thrones have better fucking mortality rates than people who know me. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, you should be fucking right. Yeah. No, next year's like 97. No, it's not. Yeah. You know what? If next year's 97, I'm fine with that. I was 18 years old. I was only a few years into my. I was at a stage where my addiction to cocaine and crack and speed and meth had not fucking yet reached a point where it was not constantly fun, It was basically like living it was basically like living in a copy of Nuts magazine, Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, what year would you prefer to live in Kosovo? Is it the Yeah, well, do you know what? If he does, then so be it. In order to fucking set off nukes, he'd have to actually have some, he'd have to care about something. And All he wants is attention. He can't get attention if he kills too many people. Yeah. And hey, if the world's gonna end, at least it's nice to have a front row seat. Yeah. Plus, if you survive, I'm thinking, the world's going to need repopulating, which means I'm definitely going to be on for one. You know. Well, hopefully, no. Mad Max is a reality that takes place long after the collapse of civilization. It would take a while to get. I'm pretty sure most people will still live in the areas where there are like buildings and shit. Okay, it's not Armageddon. You can't have a local Armageddon, Dan. Right. That is definitionally impossible. It's like having a four-sided triangle, right? You can't have the end of the world happen locally. Well, no, because I'm not a fucking because I'm not delusional. Right then, that's not being English. That's being a fucking boomer deluded right-wing gammon boomer. Who's basically who's addicted to who does nothing but read the Daily Mail and the Express and pretends that it's true. Tommy wouldn't agree. Well, is there a better reason to not is there a better argument in favour of anything than finding out Tommy Robinson doesn't agree with it? It's the reason I support the Muslim grooming gangs. When I find out about